1983, just 49 years back. Many of us were not even born. He's very senior disciple of, a direct disciple of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And Maharaj took sannyas in 1986. And Maharaj is, senior sannyasi and also initiating guru in ISKCON as a family. Amazing speaker, and he's known for his amazing kirtan and dance. And Maharaj, very instrumental in preaching in one of the places that no one even think. Maharaj is instrumental in preaching in jail. Maharaj is jail, basically prison ministry for preaching. He even wrote a book called Holy Jail. So I think that's available. We'll look for that. 2 books. Sorry, Maharaj.
Another one's called Forbidden Voices.
Another book is Forbidden Voices. Thank you very much, Maharaj. So let's welcome Maharaj on Vyasasana by our traditional way, by 3 times loudly chanting. His Holy Chandramali Swami Maharaj ki jai.
We'll go right into Mangalacharna instead of the Kirtan. Is that okay? And I'll chant Mangalacharna together. Om Abhyam Chimirandasya Yadanajalaya Chaksurindramena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadami Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Rupa Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sarvajatam Sarvanatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Sarvadutam Padijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Radha Sarvadita Shri Krishna Kandihamsa Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jayapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Bhakta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavane Vrishabhanu Devi Pranamati Hari Manacharvatu Krishna Kripa Sindhu Vyayevasha Patitanam Pavanendro Vaishnavendro Namo Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Esvaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasadi Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Asyanare Savadi Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jai. So I'll begin with a little story from the Mahabharata. And it's this earth planet is known as Bharatvarsha. Before that was called Ilavati or Varsha. Varsha means island. And Bharat Bharatvarsha refers to King Bharat, who ruled the world for many hundreds of years. And because of his powerful and very influential spiritual guidance, this planet got the name Bharatvarsha. That's the actual name of the planet. And we hear that there were many, many powerful kings that took the throne. At that time, the world was under one rule. All the different states and provinces and different countries were aligned themselves with one supreme ruler. And that is the way that the world was governed in that day, by what we say enlightened monarchy. And then, of course, we have a very essential story from the Mahabharata, which we all know, is this, the Battle of Cougar. One of the most, it is the most powerful, the most biggest battle in the history of wars on this earth. Two cousin brothers, the Kurus and the Pandavas, paired off to fight against each other for the rule of the world. One king, his name was Dhritarashtra, he was meant to rule the world after his brother Pandu died. Pandu died an early death. Pandu was the heir to the throne. Because he died, his elder brother Dhritarashtra was supposed to take the throne, but Dhritarashtra couldn't because he was blind. It's not possible to rule the world in a blind state. So he wanted his sons, headed by Duryodhana, Dushashana, to rule the world. But Pandu was the actual rightful heir, and therefore his sons, the Pandus, were the actual heir to the throne. And so there was a contention who should rule the world. And therefore the Kurus, they usurped the kingdom and exploited the Pandavas and harassed the Pandavas in so many ways. Lord Sri Krishna was personally present. And his role was that he wanted Satan to rule the world. Yada yada hidamasya. Kanir bhavati bharata. Bhutanam dharmasya tadatmaham srijam. Pavitranayam sarunam vinasanayam chaduskritam dharma samstarpanartaya. Sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna speaks these verses in the Bhagavad Gita to illustrate why he comes to this material world, to reestablish Dharma, to rid the world of adharma, or irreligion, and of course to give association and pleasure to his devotees. These are the reasons why he came. And so Krishna, the world was overburdened with demonic forces when Krishna came. And that continued, and Krishna was constantly killing demons, both in Vrindavan, in the Torah, and outside in the area of Dwarka. Krishna was killing one demon after another. That was his whole program. So he could establish eventually Satan rule. But the whole thing culminated in the Battle of Cougar. And Krishna wanted the Pandavas to be on the throne because they were actually devotees. But Dhritarashtra had somehow or other, along with his, as Prabhupada writes in the purport, nasty sons, usurped the kingdom, and Duryodhana wanted to become the king, along with his followers, Dushashana, which was his brother, and other. There was 100 sons of Dhritarashtra at the time. So we all know about the battle. It was a quite fierce battle. 640 million soldiers died in the battle. No women, no children. those battles then in those days were fought in an area away from the general population. And therefore, innocent people were not victimized. Now, nowadays, it's a whole different thing. But there's no civility in the world. There's no there's no real kshatriyas, and people are just violent by nature. So they kill anybody and anybody at any time. And so we really degraded down to animals don't even do that. We degraded down even to lower than animals. But that's another point. But this battle went on, and ultimately the Pandavas were victorious because of the presence of Krishna. And King Yudhisthira, after performing the Rajasthan Sacrifice, which is a sacrifice that requires great amounts of wealth and much time and energy and support from the rest of the world. After 2 years of working to gather the ingredients and performing the sacrifice, it was unanimously understood that King Yudhisthira now was going to be the king of the world. So he took the throne. And as a king sees their progeny as their children. They treat their children. They treat their progeny as if they was their own children. Nowadays, the kings don't even, or the rulers, they don't even know who their progeny is, nor do they care so much. They only care about power, position, power, and personal aggrandizement. But that wasn't like that in the Vedic culture. And therefore, King Yudhisthira, both the saintly king and at the same time very expert in ruling the world, took the throne. And then he decided to make an open door policy where anyone in the kingdom could at any time come and see him and talk to him if they had any problems. And it wasn't like you had to make an appointment or anything. You just could call if the king was available. He made that his first duty because the citizens are always the first concern of the king or the ruler because they make up what is rule. And it's kingdom means people. And the welfare of the king, people, is the main concern of the king. And so he made an open door policy. And it just so happens that Bhima, his brother, the very powerful Bhima, took the position of being his secretary, as is described in the Mahabharata. So Yudhisthira's there, Bhima's sitting outside, and one man comes along and he says, "Oh, Bhima, I have to see Yudhisthira. Yeah, this is something I can't understand what happened. And I need some explanation. I'm sure Yudhisthira can help me. Can I see Yudhisthira?" And then Bhima said, "Well, I think right now he is busy, but maybe I can help you." "Okay, what's the problem?" "Well, I made a garden. I was set out to make this beautiful garden. I got flowers, shrubberies, trees. And I planted this beautiful, beautiful garden, very nice, a variety of different greeneries. And then I was so happy, but then I thought, I have to protect the garden. So I have to build a wall around the garden. So I built a wall, it took me a long time, a big wall, around the garden to protect the garden. But just after I finished building the garden, the wall started to encroach upon the garden and destroy the garden. I'm thinking, what is this? The wall is destroying the garden. I made the wall to protect the garden, and it's destroying the garden. So what, can you explain? He said, "I think you better go see this." So he goes in, and then the second man comes. He comes, "Oh, Bhima, it's not a problem, but I need an explanation. I saw something today. In fact, I did something today that is really bewildering, and I'm sure Yudhisthira can help." "Well," Bhima said, "Well, I think he's busy right now, but please tell me the problem." He said, "Well, I had this big bucket of water, And I decided to empty the bucket into 5 cups. So I took 5 cups and I filled 5 cups completely with the whole bucket of water. And then I thought, all right, now I'll take the 5 cups and pour it back into the big bucket. I started with a big bucket, I filled 5 cups, but when I put the 5 cups back into the big bucket was only half filled. What's the answer? Peter said, I think you better see this. Here's a little promise. So then a third man comes. Third man comes and he says, oh, Bima, I saw something I can't believe. I know I saw it. If I were to describe it, most people wouldn't believe it, but I saw it. And I know Yudhisthira can not only accept it, but he can explain it. So I need to see Yudhisthira. Well, he's busy. Try me. All right. Well, there was this elephant, huge elephant, and he was walking, and he was walking and walking, and I was watching it, and there was a wall in front, and he was heading right for the wall. He comes right up against the wall. He goes crashing through the wall. The wall starts to break, and he gets almost all the way through, but his little tail gets stuck. What's the explanation? He was thinking, I should have stayed home today. I think you better go see Yudhisthira. So then the fourth man comes. Oh, Lima, I have a story to tell. Can I tell you? Yeah, please tell me the story. Well, I decided to just go someplace I've never been before. So I just picked a direction and I just started to walk. And I was walking and walking and walking. I didn't know where I was going. I just wanted to go somewhere different. And as I was walking, I noticed the whole landscape was changing. It was becoming very foreboding. And then I saw these rock formations, and then there was mountains. And then it became darker and darker, and I looked all around, and then I realized, where am I? And everything was so dark, and these big rock mountains were everywhere. And I looked forward, backward, and both sides, they were everywhere. I think, oh, I'm gonna get out of here. So I started to run, and I was running. I didn't know where I was running, but I just had to get away. And then I was running, I looked down on the ground, and I saw something really nice. What is this? Everything was just rocks and darkness. There was this little green creeper coming out of the ground. So I decided to pull it. So I pulled it, and when I pulled it, the most amazing thing happened. All the darkness dissipated, the sun came out, all the mountains were gone, and I was feeling no happy. What is it? I think you better go see Yudhisthira. So after some time, Bhima goes into the room where Yudhisthira is, and Yudhisthira's alone, there's nobody there. And then Bhima says, did you meet those 4 men I sent in? Yudhisthira said, I didn't see any 4 men. Oh, those 4 men. Oh, they represent Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga has just started. Krishna has left the planet. Now the age of Kali will begin. Bhima said, can you tell me their stories? Oh, yes. First man with the wall and the garden. The citizens of the state will elect the government to protect them, but the government will destroy the citizens. The garden is the citizens, the wall is supposed to be the protector, but the wall destroys the garden. This is Kali Yuga. I don't need to give you further explanations on that one. Second one, the man with the bucket and the 5 cups, Yudhisthira said, oh, this is very sad. Parents guardians and superiors will give so much time, energy, and care to their children, but the children will not appreciate their parents. You start with a full bucket, and fill it up, when you give back, you only get half back. This is the age of Kali. Children will not appreciate their parents. You hear that, guys? There is exceptions too. But that's the general thing. You see the kids today are really wild. Wild. They don't listen to anybody. That's the general mood today, especially the teenagers. The third one, the elephant in the wall. Yes, if you have money, you can get justice. If you don't have money, no justice. The big man, he goes right through the wall easy. He can buy his way into justice. It doesn't matter if he's guilty or not, he can pay his way out. The little tail represents the poor man, although he may even be innocent because he has no money, there's no justice. The justice is based on how much you have. It's all about money. That's Kali Yuga. And the last one, Yudhisthira said this is good. The darkness represents the feature of the age of Kali. Kaler Doshani Rajana Astiyako Mahaku. Kirtana is the Krishna's Mukta Sangam Prayoja. Sukadev Goswami is speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit is asking. He's saying, in this age of Kali, Kaler Dosha Niti. Niti means Kaler Dosha. Dosha means fall. Niti means ocean. In this age, there's so many problems. But Asti echo, what is that? Asti, that echo, one, Mahagu, Kirtana Eva Krishna Syam Mukta Sangam Param. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can push back the entire feature of all the ills in Kali Yuga. That green creeper that he pulled out of the ground and mixed with all that darkness was the holy name. The holy name is the panacea for all success and all enlightenment. So this story kind of illustrates the future of this age. And you can't solve problems in this age. We try to solve problems. There's so many problems, and we make an effort. You solve one problem, you get two more. It's just the way the age is, right? They're trying to solve the traffic problem. How can you solve the traffic problem by giving more cars? It's like solve the pollution problem by more industry, right? So all of the attempts to solve problems in this age creates another type of problem. And Prahlad Maharaj says, he says, if you want to be happy in this age, do one thing, don't try to be happy. Really, that's Prahlad Maharaj. He's a Acharya. He is one of the Mahajans. He speaks religious principles. He's an authority. What is he saying? That you can't solve problems with another problem. Material problems means material problems. Only by spiritual solutions applied to material problems can material problems be gone. Material problems are just problematic, and there's no solutions in the material sense. The only solution is Krishna consciousness or chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And if that verse, Kaler Dosha Niti Rajan, means that in this age, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the bright light of this dark age. Krishna has come in the form of his name. Kali Kali Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar. Namavaiti Hayasam Jiyat Vista. In this age, there is the mercy manifestation of Krishna in this age is the holy name of the Lord. In 1972, Prabhupada said, he said, Kali Yuga will only get worse. He said, there are many demons now, but they'll continue to increase more and more and more. He said, the devotees will be harassed by the demons, but he said, don't worry, Krishna is savior. What is that savior? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
And we have to chant with faith. Faith is the elixir that gives the holy name all of the mercy that you're looking for. If we chant, and that's nice, but we chant that this chanting is all I need ultimately to purify my heart, to develop clear intelligence, and at the same time connect with Krishna in a very deep and very meaningful way. Holy name is everything. And there are many verses that illustrate that. In fact, the glories of the holy name are only, there's something called overstatements and then there's called understatement. You can't glorify the holy name, it's not possible. Any glorification is simply an understatement. It's Krishna himself. Prabhupada, one devotee was giving a lecture one time. Very senior devotee, and he was talking about the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And so he said, well, and Krishna is in his name. And Srila Prabhupada was there personally, listening to his disciple, who was a sannyasi, saying, and Prabhupada stopped him. He said, where in his name is he? And then he understood, now Krishna is not in his name, Krishna is his name. It's a big difference. The name is identifiable, it's the same. Big Natam Nami Nami Nami, the name of Krishna, Krishna is there. So if we have that faith, we can chant all the names of the Lord. And then we are fully pure, protected from all the onslaughts of Kali, all the difficulties. And because the holy name is Krishna himself. But we have to realize that. How can you realize it? We can explain it, we can try to discuss it, but it can only be realized through experience. When you experience it, then you understand. And we get a little drop of the mercy of the holy name. But Krishna Lord Chaitanya says, Nija Sarva Shakti, so all the powers, all the mercy, everything is there in Krishna's name. So Srila Prabhupada said, he said in 50 years ago, he said in 1973, he said in 50 years this civilization will be finished. He said the whole Western civilization will collapse in 50 years. And he said, why? Because it's based on a false premise. Well, what is that premise? Money. Anything that's based on money cannot last. Culture is value, culture is relationship, culture is actually the substance that gives life to a social environment, not money. Money is just, there is no money anyway, it's just paper. That's all it is. Here's a piece of paper, you worked hard. And if the government says there's no loot anymore, you stop, you go. And that's happening already. So Prabhupada in 1973, along with, and actually in 1977, he said that the future of our society and the future of the world depends on going back to a more simple lifestyle. He said the cities will collapse to be places of simply crime and various types of chaos. And he said, ultimately, we have to build these farms. He said, Varnashram, farm communities, living like Krishna lived. Now, this is a very strong statement. We're all living nicely in big houses, with, nice cars and driveways, and so many things. But if the power goes out, you're lost. So finished. The food supply goes out, you're finished. With the water, we depend so much on the secular organization of the political arrangements to live. But Prabhupada understood that if we want to continue to build this movement, and Prabhupada's idea was not just to bring some kind of religion into the world. He said, I want to make a revolution to transform the whole world to Krishna consciousness. Vedic culture, so Vedic culture is human culture. Western culture is dog dancing culture. So, yeah, and there's so many examples we can give by that. Prabhupada said, do 4 things. He said, grow your own food, and you could then keep cows. You could keep also horses, animals, other animals also. And he said, by growing your own food, you can grow more than you need, and you can live nicely. You don't have to work all year round, and you can use whatever is left over to feed the animals. The animals will eat whatever's extra there. And that way you can maintain animals. If you have cows, you have milk. If you have milk, you have the most nutritious substance. It says, the Shastras actually say that milk nourishes the finer brain tissues, which are needed to understand higher spiritual principles. So milk, and Prabhupada said not too much. He said 1 pound of milk per day most, and 1/2 pound, not like so much. When I was in New Vrindavan in 19 early days, we had so many cows. I lived on the farm for many years. And we would have milk every night in big buckets of nice creamy milk. It was mostly cream and sorrel. You didn't have to put any sweetener in. It was so sweet and fragrant. It was so coming right from protected cows. And we drank too much milk. Prabhupada came to one day, the devotees were getting sick because they were drinking too much milk. He said, you're drinking too much milk. And he said, 1 pound, 1/2 pound or less. And then he meant all milk products, not just milk, but proteins and yogurt, whatever contains milk. Then added up to 1 pound. That's about 17.2 ounces. Half of that is the minimum. So milk is very nutritious and can be used for so many food preparations. And then you also see cows provide cow dung. It says Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, is situated in cow dung. Many of you grew up in India, right? You know, you have cows there, take the cow dung, you mix it with the patty, you slap it on the wall, it dries off, and you got fuel for cooking. Yeah, it's cooking. It's already, Krishna has arranged everything. You don't have these electrical stones. You don't know what's going to happen next. Prabhupada said, first class cooking is cow dung, second class is wood, third is gas, and fourth is electric. I was a cook in New Vrindavan for many years. We cooked with wood. We used to haul out the wood from the dead trees that were fallen outside. Or if we saw some fallen wood, then we come out and we would haul wood in. And we had all the fuel we need to cook. We used it for heating, for cooking. So wood was there. Wood is still available. Mostly most of Europe uses wood for heating, not so much for cooking, but for heating. So that's practical. So what I'm pretty much saying is that Prabhupada gave us a formula. He said that this material Western civilization will not last. Build these farms, develop an ashram, live simply, this is the way Krishna was. Now, this is a very strong statement for most of us because we're accustomed to, plugging in our whatever we plug in. But who says all of this is going to be? How long is this going to last? We're already seeing a slight collapse in the culture already. Prabhupada predicted it won't happen. And so he said, if you have your farms, he said, if you grow your own food, it's 100 times more nutritious than what you buy in the stores. And the process of growing food is also bhakti itself. In other words, when you plant the seed, that's bhakti. When you cultivate by watering the plant, that's bhakti. When the plant grows and then you cultivate the plant, that's bhakti. When the plant is finished and provides the fruit, you take that off and bring it to the kitchen. You cook it, that's bhakti. You offer it to the Lord, that's bhakti. And then when you take it, it's prasad from the very beginning. Now, the whole process is bhakti. So, and of course, nowadays, the food we get is low class. It's full of chemicals and so many other things. So Prabhupada said, grow your own food, keep cows. Cows also provide cow dung, and you can heat your homes with cow dung. You change it into methane gas, and methane can heat homes. So God has provided, Krishna has provided everything in nature to live. Everything. We might say, well, that's primitive lifestyle. I left India and get away from that, right? But actually, when it's done in a communal way, it's very supportive both of spiritual life and easy material life. If you have to do it alone, then it's difficult and it's practically impossible. But so the whole basis of Krishna consciousness is community. Many families working and living together, sharing resources, sharing labor, and bringing children together as a group. It says in the Vedas, it takes a village to raise a child. That's in the scriptures. It takes a village to raise a child. What does that mean? That means the child gets a more rounded growth. He gets so many friends, family members, others, and he's happy, or she's happy. She gets whatever you want. Now we send kids to these, what we call public schools. When they come back with all bad habits, right? And then you got to sit there and pull your hair out. Where did you learn that from? It's garbage, right? I was at one of my disciples' home in Pennsylvania last year. And you know, she's a doctor, she's Indian, and she has a son and a daughter. And their son goes to public schools. So I was asking, what's it like in your school? He's about 14 years old. He said, it's hell. He says the kids in schools, they go in and they steal the sinks and the toilets. They unscrew it and take it home. Yeah, it's a nice school too. So I mean, I was thinking the kids nowadays grow up, they're all Varna Sankara. You know what Varna Sankara means? No Garbhadam Sankara, to bring in a good soul. And so a lot of these children that are born nowadays are coming from lower planets because people don't follow any rules and regulations. They just come together at any time and any place in order, and sometimes it's not planned anymore, just people get pregnant and all of a sudden there's a child. And so this is not civilization. Therefore, Prabhupada gave us a whole picture, not just chanting, dancing, and all of the spiritual aspect. Gave us a lifestyle, complete lifestyle, how to live. When I was in New Vrindavan, Prabhupada came in and we were thinking, how can we live here? I'll show you. And he brought the leaders in, sat us down, and he drew a cottage, a little house. He said, build something like this, and the grihastas can live here. They can have family, it'll be big enough for the family, and they can live simply, and then they can use their time to practice Krishna consciousness. So what do? We go to work, and we spend most of our time away from the family. the men do anyway. The women stay home sometimes, and women are also working nowadays. And families get pulled apart simply by the social environment. But that's not Christian consciousness. We need to stay together, work together, and not only spiritually, but also in the material sense. Prabhupada said, develop these farm communities. And he also said, produce your own cloth and make your own clothes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure some of the ladies could make clothes. It's an art that's developed. And the last thing Prabhupada said, he said, learn herbs and then make your own medicines. He said there's no need to die for doctors. If you know the science of herbology, then all the medicine that you need for any disease is in nature, everything. It's all there. And Krishna's provided everything. He says that in the Bhagavad Gita. I am the healing herb. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is the kind of. So what I'm saying is that be ready as this society collapses. I'm not saying you should run to the farms now, but have a backup. Be ready when this place collapses. It's going to collapse. There's no question about it. The whole civilization is finished. It's on its way out. And you might say, well, Maharaj, where do you get that from? This is some kind of doomsday prophet. But just take a look around you and you'll see it. It's already happening. Western civilization is on its way out. It may last for a little bit longer, but in the meantime, things are going to get quite. So Prabhupada said, we have to build these farm communities for our grihastas, for our families, so they can have a healthy lifestyle and practice Krishna consciousness. And for the brahmacharis and for the sannyasis, they can preach and stay in the cities and preach, and also go to the farms. But the farms are for the grihastas, for the families. You might say, wow, what am I going to do there? There's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. And this is the future of not only of Krishna conscious society, but of the world in general. Everything is falling apart, and it's going to continue that way. And I might be a doomsday prophet, but just watch. You'll see, especially the next year, how things are going down. And the war in Ukraine, that's pushing things farther and farther to shortages all around the world. That war is going to get bigger and bigger, and it might turn into a world war also. Anyway, this is all politics. You might say, what does that have to do with Krishna consciousness? Well, we have to make sure that we are stable in our material society. Otherwise, we can't practice Krishna consciousness properly if we're harassed too much by the material energy. And that's why Prabhupada said, these farms are actually the future of the world, the future of our society. And there's so many benefits that you can get from that type of lifestyle. It takes a while to start it. Of course, we have our Vrindavan, we have our Gita Nagari, these projects in London, we have the Bhakti Vedanta Manor. There are many other farm projects around the world. In Hungary, they've really developed a beautiful community there. It's practically almost self-sufficient. So many yatras around the world are actually looking forward to building this vision that Srila Prabhupada had, more of a simple living, high thinking, not like high living and no thinking. No time to think because you're too busy living. Right? Yeah. If you human life is not about working hard. Human life is Dr. Prabhupada, it's about chanting the holy names, about becoming self-realized. Work working hard is for animals. The humans are not meant to work hard. They're meant to actually understand their relationship with God. And there's a little work that has to be done in order to maintain. But we spend so much time just, what they say, making money. But who's making the money? The government. They make it all the time. They print it. So really, our society needs to really take serious Prabhupada's teachings. And he made that point. He said 50% of my mission is incomplete. That's when he was leaving in 1977. In 77, he gave a whole series of lectures. He said, develop this Vanashram, simple living, high thinking, the way Krishna lived. He said, this Western civilization will not last. Okay, anyway, any comments or questions? Yes.
I'm wondering, as we look at our own lives, thank you for your lecture. I'm wondering, as we try to apply these principles of simplicity to our own lives, and we ask, perhaps senior devotees or through association about choices we should make.
So thank you, Maharaj, for your lecture. I'm wondering, as we try to apply these principles of simplicity to our own lives, what if advice from devotees is we're getting different advice from different devotees, or maybe advice from devotees that we feel like is contradictory to the lessons, the instructions that we're reading in Srimad Bhagavatam or in Bhagavad Gita essays?
Where's the direction going to come from?
Yes.
Well, it has to come from the leadership, but ultimately they have to follow Srimad Prabhupada. The Prabhupada made it clear. It wasn't some kind of nebulous statement that he made. He made it really clear what he said about the future of the world, the future of the society. Prabhupada was a mystic. He wasn't just some powerful spiritual person. He could see past, present, and future. He had Trikala Gyan. And if you read and hear Srila Prabhupada's statements, towards the end specifically, he emphasized this as the main thing. So as a society, we have to line up with these teachings and try to work out a plan in order to implement. Some leaders are doing it, most leaders are not. It will take a crisis for some of us to wake up. But we don't want to wait that long. Crises are hard to deal with, better than be prepared. So gradually there are some programs that are moving clearly according to Prabhupada's instructions. And why did he give them instructions? Because he understood that in order for our society to continue, we will have to adjust this Western lifestyle. Because the Western lifestyle is soul killing. Schools, everything is destructive to values, to principles, to aesthetic principles. The living being is being destroyed by this society. Pollution, crime, so many problems. These are all due to lack of God consciousness. So we preach God consciousness, hoping people will change. But we find that it becomes hard to change unless we change our direction and how we live. Yes, Prabhu in the back.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Maharaj, for bringing this topic. And most of the times, this is the least understood topic of Varnashrama.
It needs to be discussed.
Yes, Maharaj. And fortunately, Michigan, we do have one. Golok Premdam started. But one thing is, striking point is like simple living, right? From devotees living as a, in a city or suburbs. So how the point is like simple living, right? So that's the whole concept of going to farm also. Before we go there, if we don't practice that simple living in where we are living right now, it would be a total chaos.
It'll be difficult.
Yes.
You'll
So how,
have to adjust to that.
what are the things that you would recommend for practicing that?
Right, I would recommend everyone go to South Farmington, and you're gonna stay there for a little while, get a feel of that lifestyle. And come back to where you are and continue. You get an understanding of what it means, but it still needs to be developed. And Prabhupada is also, there are many devotees who are focusing on this Bhakti Raghava Swami, particularly 100%. He's working on Varnashram Karaj, and which is the basis for simple living also. He's working mostly in India. And there are others who are also doing it. Shiva Ramaraj is writing books about this. He wrote one book already on Varnas.
Mostly what we hear is it's not economical to even start to do things. That is one thing we hear a lot from.
We can also go to the farms that are already in, and see if there is also ways to take a residence there. There are opportunities to go, and there are many devotees, just like I stayed in Slovenia, Croatia. And there's devotees there who have farms. In fact, the problem is only a couple of devotees on the farm, and they're trying to maintain this big farm because nobody's attracted. So we could take these present farms, and these devotees would be happy to have more people come. Because it's difficult to maintain a farm when you have only a few people. It's a communal effort.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
But it's a healthy lifestyle, both spiritually and physically.
Thank you so much.
Yes. This gentleman here. Oh, I'll get to you.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. I think in the introduction I told that you have been working in the jail ministry, then just want to understand. I was hearing it first time with such kind of ministry in ISKCON and its prisoners. So maybe what is your experience? If you want to share something about your experience
In jail, preaching in jails.
Yeah.
Well, many wonderful stories of different experiences of people who met Krishna consciousness through Srila Prabhupada's books. Mostly we send in books. And then they read the books and they become interested, and then eventually we write letters. We keep contact through letter writing. And sometimes we go into new programs, but that's not always so easy. Depends on what country you're in. But each jail is practically different as far as restrictions are concerned. But yeah, they read the books, they start chanting, and they practice Krishna consciousness in jail.
These people are kind of very difficult to handle in the normal society. So yeah, the handle in
Krishna consciousness, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda changed Jana and Madhai. Yamaraj, when he talked to his scribes, he said, "What are the sins of Jana and Madhai?" Chandragupta, who was his chief scribe of Yamaraj, he said, "Don't ask. We're 1 month behind in calculating their sins." We have to hire another 30 scribes. But Lord Chaitanya's verse is there. I'll give you so many examples. I won't tell you the country that this happened, but one country, one of our devotees was he was the Hindu minister in the jail. So they have representatives from different religious. So he became the Hindu minister. So there was one young man, he was from India. He was on death row. He had committed some murder. And so he was due to be executed. So we asked, is there anyone who's coming from the Indian culture who may be interested in coming to our meetings? We were having classes on Bhagavad Gita. So the administration said, yeah, there's one man who's on death row. Let him come. So he came. At first he wasn't so interested. But after some time, he decided to take interest. And his whole program was he denied everything about his crime. His parents would come and see him, and he would say, I'm being unfairly punished. But then he started to attend the Bhagavad Gita classes. And after coming to the Bhagavad Gita classes for a while, his whole mind started to change. He started to understand deeper what Bhagavad Gita was saying, understood his position as a spirit soul, and then he changed. And then when his parents would come, he was completely different. They asked the devotees, what did you do to him? He said, nothing, we didn't do anything, we just exposed him to Bhagavad Gita. So after some time, he became so attracted to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita that he would read the Bhagavad Gita all the time and keep it with him. So then it was time for him to go for his execution. And so he asked the executioners, can I have the Bhagavad Gita with me when you take me away? They said, yeah, no problem. So, and usually, and this was described by them, the administration of the jail, nobody goes willingly to their death. They usually have to drag the guy or just tie him up and bring him. He was just walking along, holding the Bhagavad Gita, and he was passing by the cells of other inmates. And he was saying, goodbye, I'm leaving. He was saying goodbye to his friends. And there wasn't any fear in his mind. And he said, I want to have the Bhagavad Gita with me because when I die, my next life, I want to become a devotee of Krishna. Yeah. And so eventually he was executed. They came back to us and they said, what did you do to him? Nobody acts like that. We explained this. He became God conscious. He became fearless. He understood, I'm not this body. The body will die, but the soul will on. Therefore, my destination, my next life will be nothing because I'll be devoted. And he had complete faith. That's a long, really powerful story. That's included in one of my second book. It's called Forbidden Places. It was in a country that doesn't allow Krishna consciousness leaders. I can't mention the country. If it gets out, we can get in trouble. So yeah, this is one of many, many stories. They become different.
Maharaj, please examine all of this in the dust evidence.
Get a copy of those books because the stories are phenomenal. Really phenomenal. We had a murder for hire in South India. One person, he was, I don't know if any of you are from South India. Well, they kill politicians quite easily. And they hire these guys to kill their opponent. One politician wants to get rid of his opponent, so he hires somebody to kill him. So this man, he was doing that. He killed 8 people. Finally, he went to jail. And while he was in jail, he met the devotees in the jail. This was in Chennai. And then he was, he started to chant, and he's a little tough guy. So he was really chanting, he liked it, and he was forced the other prisoners to chant also. So it was good. He was really chanting, he chant 64 rounds on Kadasi. He would follow Kadasi and preach Krishna consciousness. And he was such a preacher in jail, and although he committed 8 murders, he was, when he went to trial, the verdict was he was innocent. Krishna changed the whole thing around. And he got out and became a devotee. Yeah, it's a true story. It's in my first book, Holy Journey. One of our preachers in South India, she was doing all that. She told all the stuff. So yeah, preaching in jails, you get some pretty amazing changes. Changes. It's not like that in everyone, but there's amazing, amazing transformations.
It's very practical what you're saying about how working in the cities is very difficult. And I'm seeing also some people, if I try to tell them that please chant, or they say, well, no, there's no time. You know, I'm working like 10 hours, and 2 hours taking care of my children. And although, I mean, sometimes I say, no, try to chant. But if you could suggest, because everyone faces this problem, like many householders I know, they work so hard, they work the whole night and they don't have time. So what would you suggest for such situations so that they can improve their Krishna consciousness? And I mean, they're trying to change their situation, but it's very difficult.
Well, it's up to us to be memorable. We have to create programs that invite people to attend. Just like I preached in London a lot, and we have these kirtan programs. Devotees have kirtan programs at different venues. And it's an outside venue. We usually hire some kind of place. And then we invite people to come, and then we have some kirtan here, so people come. And every program, there's always some new people. Well, recently, I went to one program, there was about 70 people there, half of them were first timers. And we had kirtan, and they were also, they got all up, got up and danced. So kirtan programs, prashadam programs, Bhagavad Gita classes. There's many ways we can reach the population as possible. And then try to be, and Harinam Sankirtan is also. I don't know how much is going on in the US, but where I am, and I'm in Slovenia, we do Harinam Sankirtan every day. We did it right through the entire lockdown. We were out there in the streets chanting and dancing. And we're making devotees faster. People are coming because we're out distributing books and we're out. So, I mean, America might be a little tougher because people are more absorbed in the material life. But still, people will come.
I just wants to get out. I fully embrace what you said. My clarification is that someone has come, they are interested, they come once a week, but now their problem is sadhana. They're not finding time for sadhana. So what do?
Well, basically, you're saying that the way they live, they just don't have time. Well, I'm thinking about come on the weekends. We can also have programs to have what they call retreats. We do a lot of retreats in Europe. We go on for like a week, go to a secluded place and just have seminars and programs like that. Get people away from their give them a good taste of Krishna consciousness. We just have to keep thinking of ways of bringing people. That's not everybody will come, but there are people out there who are looking for something seriously. They don't know what they're looking for. Yes, okay. How's our time? Should I stop? You know, one more question?
Please accept my obeisances, Maharaj. Maharaj, we are talking about the Kali Yuga and those five kinds of questions to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So you quoted one verse that Kali Yuga Nidhi Rajan, that means the Kali Yuga is the ocean of faults.
So many. It's gonna get worse. Prabhupada said, don't stick around, go back. It's gonna get worse.
And Prabhupada often quotes the 26 qualities of Vaishnava in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavatam, where one of the quality, the fourth or fifth quality, becoming a faultless. Now in the ocean of fault, so what is the remedy to become faultless? And what do you actually need to become faultless?
Faultless means developing the qualities of the mode of goodness. The mode of passion and the mode of ignorance are both full of anomalies. With the mode of goodness, the person has good qualities. They're peaceful, they're humble, they're tolerant, they're kind towards others, they're detached from happiness and distress. In other words, they're equipoised. They know the scriptures, they can speak the scriptures, they're simple in their lifestyle. They have good qualities. All of these are mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. So it's mentioned that Krishna also told Arjuna, come to the mode of goodness. Because from the mode of goodness, you could come to transcendence. You can't do it from passion. Passion is a hard struggle in order to enjoy this material world. Ignorance is just sinful, wretched life. These two modes are going on now as the foremost way when people live. Killing animals, killing babies, killing each other. And money becomes the medium for success. Who are worshipped in this age? People who have money. We got money, you're important. But that's not according to Vedic culture, you have knowledge, not money. Real knowledge, not just secular knowledge. So yeah, the mode of goodness, Krishna explains that very clearly. So we have to develop those qualities. And on the mode of goodness, you can become flawless. Passion means there's only one good quality in passion, creativity. All the other qualities of passion lead to selfishness. Mode of ignorance is destructive to oneself and others. Mode of passion is selfish. Mode of goodness is selfless. And transcendence can only be attained when we actually practice those qualities that are conducive to the mode of goodness. But in this age, the mode of goodness is conspicuous by its absence. It's hardly even there. Everything centers around money is the honey. That's the way I look at it. But wherever there's honey, there's bees. So it stings also. Yeah. But the modern materialist is an analogy. A man is walking, he falls into a well, and he's falling all the way down. He grabs onto a little branch in the well, and he holds on. And then he looks down in the well, and there's a big snake. And he looks up, there's a tiger looking at him. And then he's holding on to the branch. And then he sees two rats, one black and one white, and they're chewing on the branch he's holding on to. But now here's the good part. There's some honey, there's a honey nest in there, and there's some honey dropping, and he's sticking his tongue out to catch the honey. It's not so bad. That's material life. The black and white rats are the days and nights that are taking away our duration of life. The snake is death. So yeah, this is material life. There's a little bit of some kind of pleasure, but it's all based around suffering. Krishna consciousness is free from all suffering. It is the principle of awakening the soul's natural love for Krishna, which comes in the form of knowledge and various types of experiences in relationship to serving Krishna. So yeah, spiritual life is life, material life is an anomaly. That's all it is. You have to do it in order to maintain your body and maintaining the extensions of the body, family members. But it's not a source of happiness. Happiness is Krishna consciousness. Right? Anybody disagree? Any other questions? Any ladies have questions? Yes.
Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for your class. I'm a social worker, and so I'm kind of going into this field where there's a lot of stigma against, people with mental illnesses, and especially people who are in prison. And rather than
Discrimination against them?
yes, yeah, and rather than there being restorative justice, it's more about punishment, and it's more about just neglect, yes. So to preach to them, you have to have a lot of compassion and a lot of mercy.
And a lot of tolerance.
Yes. How can I cultivate that kind of going into this field?
Wow. Okay. I know there's a devotee where I stay, she does the same work. But she says I can only do it because I chant 16 rounds before I go to work. And because she does that, she has the strength to continue her service. That's very difficult. She needs strong style, very strong style. Otherwise it'll wear you out. Because in some cases you have to realize you can't solve the problem, but you can ameliorate people's pain to some extent. But your sadhana has to be strong. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. Okay, so thank you. Prabhupada.
Jai. One more quick announcement. Maharaj Association is going to continue the evening as well. Maharaj is giving home program in Mahipal Prabhu's house, Mahipal Krishna in